Welcome everyone to another rendition of our Rep Coaches webinar series. Today we are going over vitamin D and why the sun is important. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Coach Callen.
Let's sunshine in. Why natural light is your best friend. Brighten your day, brighten your life. So why we need natural light. So right off the top, right now, we have 1 billion people worldwide that are deficient clinically in vitamin D. And obviously you can kind of put 2 and 2 together just with the advent of society as we're moving forward as a group with all the benefits of, running water and food at your fingertips and all of these things, travel and all kinds of beautiful stuff. There is obviously side effects, opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost is we're inside and we generally work in indoor environments, a lot of us, and even if we're not somebody that works indoors, we generally protect ourselves from the sunlight quite a lot because of the negative impact of the sun's rays. So we've really kind of swung the pendulum too far with respect to getting vitamin D. Like I said, now 1 billion people now suffer from vitamin D deficiency. And I'm not sure I couldn't find any data on how many people actually are doing anything about it, but I would imagine it's slim to none. So the benefit, so where do you get vitamin D? Well, you get it from the sun. So it's the best source. You can get it from different things. You can extract it from cod liver oil and things like that. So you can get it in different places, but the number one best place is to get it from the sun. So it's crucial for bone health, immune function, and yes, your mood. So mental health is a big thing. So most of the things I'm going to share with you, little tidbits of information, will be going towards the concept of improving mental health. So without it, you might feel like a wilting houseplant, not like this little plant over here who's super pumped up because they're getting sun because they're a sunflower. So moving on. So the mood boosting benefits of sunshine, nature's happy pill. So vitamin D produces serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and it reduces cortisol, which is a stress response, and impacts depression massively. So your nervous system is broken into 2 chains. There's like your central, it's your central nervous system, and inside that there's 2 different branches. There's your sympathetic nervous system, which is the one that's like wants to get up and go and do stuff like very intensely. And your parasympathetic nervous system, which is a system that wants to chill like the minions here on the beach and just have a really great time. So how vitamin D impacts mood and how it's so closely related to reducing depression is because serotonin is on your PNS. So it's your parasympathetic nervous system. It gets released and that part of your nervous system gets stimulated. And your SNS and PNS, they can't go up evenly. So if we do something that impacts our SNS, so our sympathetic nervous system, our want to go side, the not want to go side gets suppressed. All the hormones that would get produced on that side have to go down. This one goes up, these ones have to go down. Conversely, if we drive up things that impact our parasympathetic nervous system, then stuff that impacts our sympathetic nervous system, those hormones get suppressed. So the reason why vitamin D is so impactful in research on depression is because it drives up the release of the neurotransmitter serotonin. Now, when that's going up like crazy, it suppresses cortisol, which is like that stress response, and it calms you down and gets you happier. So regular exposure to sun reduces depression. And if you have excessive exposure to sun, you may even break out into spontaneous dancing. I thought this was quite funny, by the way. So it also has a big impact on inflammation. So you can just do like a quick Google search and check this stuff out. But like some of the most prescribed drugs in North America last year were incontinence, so drugs for constipation, which number one cause is dehydration, drinking more water. Your intestinal tract actually squeezes stored water in your stool out in order to recycle water into your system if you don't have enough water. So 9 times out of 10, the reason people are constipated is because they're not drinking enough. So Their intestinal tract has squeezed their fecal matter into like a hard rock, and they can't move it through their system because the body's trying to squeeze stored water out of there. So, side tip for you, or side piece for you. But one is incontinence, two is anti-inflammatories, right? NSAIDs or whatever, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So, and vitamin D actually has anti-inflammatory properties. So it drives the production of, I'm going to double check my notes here just to make sure I'm saying the right one. Yes, it drives up the production of cytokines, which are the molecules involved in the immune response. So vitamin D is big there. I imagine vitamin D is like this tiny little ninja inside your body that fights off inflammation markers as they're being, I guess, created inside your system. So what do? So you got to get outside and you got to get some sun. And you want to aim for 10 to 30 minutes of sun and midday sun several times a week. If you use sunscreen, which is fine, then you need to stay out in the sun longer because it actually blocks those rays for you to be able to like synthesize vitamin D. So if you use sunscreen, you stay longer, more like double it. You need to be outside for like, 30 minutes, or sorry, I guess that would be around an hour. Another thing you should do is obviously use sunscreen if you're going to be outside longer than 30 minutes to avoid, getting burned. So, if you're either 10 to 30 minutes of direct sun, make sure that you try to get it on your face as much as you can. And then if you're going to stay out longer than that, then use sunscreen, obviously. And another thing you should do is you should have your blood work taken every 6 months so you can self-regulate your supplementation needs. So I can give you an example. I take my blood work every 6 months, and the recommended dosage for vitamin D for some of my age, height, weight, these types of things, I believe is like 600 IUs a day. And to put that into perspective, I need to take 8,000 IUs a day in January and February in order to have my levels hit like the safe zone or the range in my blood work. So it's very dependent on individuals. Like I know people that have to take like 25,000 IUs, for a week straight in order to try to get levels high enough to get into their blood workers. So it's really important that you try to take time and go to your doctor, get your blood work, get your vitamin D taken, and really try to do it regularly. We're coming out with at-home blood work and the product now, so you'll be able to order that right to your house and it tests for vitamin D. That'll be in we're aiming for October 1st. We have the kits now and we're testing them and they're great. So I've been using them, but then you'll be able to kind of take control of it on your own because it is a really, really powerful vitamin. And I would say probably the most important one as we continue to evolve as a society and the patterns and behaviors that we have, that we can be taken to improve our overall health, as well as like our mental health. And it's an easy one. Mm-hmm. Sunshine's not going to be enough. And, obviously it's the best, but it's not going to be enough. And you're not going to be able to fit that into your life. The amount of times you need it to be there. Like you just won't. So, you're going to need to do supplementation. If you're going to do supplementation, then it's good to do blood work so you know exactly what you should be taking, when and why, right? So that's sunshine in a nutshell and vitamin D and why it's important.
Perfect. That's perfect. I actually wrote down a couple questions myself.
Okay.
And you covered two of them here on this last slide. So the first one was like balancing getting burnt versus getting the right amount of exposure. And it's just, still applying that sunscreen, but then if you want the benefit, staying out there a bit longer.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then the second one I was going to ask is just like thoughts on supplementing. And that was perfect what you said. So I do almost every day, even if I am outside. But especially in the winter, like it's something I make part of my daily habit, and probably more people, especially up here in Canada, need to do, right? Like big time, as we are not outside as much in those winter months. The last one I had though is this is something I've heard before on like when people speak about daily routines or morning routines. I've heard that it's good to get outside for first thing in the morning and get sun exposure. Is that something to do with vitamin D, or is that totally like the wake up process, which I know you know a bit about as well?
No, that kind of like buzz around the internet and people's social feeds and stuff is
Yes.
that's all about like circadian rhythms. So
Okay.
that's about like getting your uh hormonal systems in check so that you can control the sleeping and waking cycles.
Okay.
Um,
So
so
totally
that's
different
just
thing. My
totally
fault.
different thing. Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
not fault at all. Like it's
Mhm.
confusing. Yeah, totally different concept than the vitamin D thing. That's why midday is the best because the rays are actually the strongest. So the
Right.
impact is it's the most bang for your buck, I guess. Like I'm all about efficiencies. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna get like sun for vitamin D reasons, like that midday time is the best because the sun is at its strongest. That's past the cycle of circadian rhythms
Yeah.
altogether, right? Like that's a totally different game. And
Mhm.
and that's very hard to do too, depending like especially us in Canada and Northern Ontario. Like, most of the time you need to be doing that with artificial light,
Yeah. True.
so you need to
Hmm.
be waking up and using like the right, and you can buy light bulbs now that are
Yeah. I've
it's never going to be as good
heard
as the
about
sun.
those.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not even alluding to it that it is, but it's reality. Like for
Mhm.
me, I wake up at 4:30 to go to work or to get my day going, and like in the wintertime, the sun's not coming out until 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
there's like 3.5 hours there. It doesn't matter if I go
Yeah.
outside. So I mean, I use light, right, to keep my
Hmm.
cycle, to keep my hormone cycle in check. And even more important than that is temperature, but
Right.
that's a different
That's
talk.
another one.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's another talk. But for this one, yeah, different thing. Circadian rhythm is a different animal altogether.
Perfect.
And there is huge correlations too. And most people I think are pretty like in the know about this, but if they're not, like there's a correlation to cancer and vitamin D levels too. So, and obviously 1 in 3 people now catch some form of
Yeah.
cancer. So,
Hmm.
uh, not just, I kind of went along the sides of just impacting mood, because that's really relevant right now for people. I think people are
Yeah.
under lots of stress and they're feeling lots of pressures, and that's obviously societal and work and economies and social medias, and
Yeah.
so people are under lots of pressure from looking at things that are constantly better than their own situation perceived.
Yeah.
So mental health's a big one. So I went on that line, but with vitamin D, I could have gone 2 ways. I could have gone the cancer route too, because the correlation to cancer is just outstandingly close, like for vitamin D levels. So it's it's one that your
Perfect.
doctor's probably already told you to take.
Yeah. Lots of benefits, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that does it for another episode of our coaches webinar series.
Thanks very
Thanks,
much,
Coach.
everybody.